Hi, Eddie. It's so good to see you this lovely day.
It's good to see you too, Tammy, and everyone. Thank you and welcome to another edition of Getting to the Other Side. And it looks like we have a lot of people online, and I know you folks out there will be checking in later on in YouTube. And we're just talking a little bit, before the beginning of the show about the whole inner child recovery process and the amount of noise that's out there about it. And I thank all of you who have looked at the materials and I'm just so thankful to God that it's made a difference in many people's lives. But we're about to undertake a really wonderful initiative that we're so excited about. We've just finished the editing of our training series to clinicians and coaches on the inner child recovery process. And we are going to be just doing a little fine tuning along the way. And we're hoping that we're going to be launching that in early December, with the hope that we're going to train at least 150 different clinicians and counselors, not just in this country, but throughout the world, so that we can meet the need of those individuals who want to do recovery work, but also want to do it with the inner child. So just want to let you know, for you folks who don't have that individual in your area, which nobody has basically, except if you come here to Georgia. We're going to change that. We're going to change that real soon. I wish I had the bandwidth to take care of everybody. I just don't, unfortunately. I have to keep my health and my mental sanity. So anyway, but let's,
so so
yeah,
so if
go
they're
ahead.
looking for those resources, like once
Yeah.
you start training people, will they be able to find a
Oh,
list of people on your
absolutely.
website? Okay,
Yes, they're going to be able to go to the innerchild-sexaddiction.com website,
great.
and there we're going to put all the anyone who's gone through the training, their information will be there. And just to let you know, that training is not just one and done with people. I'm going to be doing something on a monthly basis with everyone who participated, so therefore they'll stay up to date, especially in the area of early childhood development and the impact that it can have on sexual addiction. So a lot of exciting stuff that's going on. So, anyway, we're going to dive in today. And today, our topic is going to be the rules that your emotions follow. Um, when we're dealing with recovery, as I don't need to tell you this, you understand it, but emotions are everywhere. Emotion can run wild, emotion can be hidden and stored away. But we do know one thing: it is a very high strung emotional task that we are undergoing when we're trying to do recovery work, whether it is from the standpoint of those who have betrayed or those who have been betrayed. So, what I want to walk you through today are just some thoughts about emotions. And I'm not trying, let me just say this up front, okay? I'm not trying to limit anyone's emotions at this point in time. That's not the purpose of this. However, there are times when emotion can get too out of sort, and we need to be very cognitive of that and be aware of it as we move along. So I have the different rules. I have about 11 different rules that your emotions follow. And I'm going to start off with the idea that your emotions don't originate from the part of your brain that, is under your control. Like, you can't choose your feelings, you can't choose your emotions. And so now let's just do a little anatomy. Um, and anyone who's worked with me before, they fully understand if I talk about it a great deal. The emotional warehouse in the brain is located back here, and it's called the limbic system, LIMBIC system. And that's what regulates our emotional pain and our emotional pleasure. Okay, and it keeps it regulated. Well, inside that limbic system are there's something called the amygdala, and the amygdala is like the thermostat. that adjust our pain levels and our pleasure levels, so we don't get too high, we don't get too low. But what happens in trauma is that the amygdala breaks, and basically now you don't have a thermostat. So therefore, your emotional pain goes off the charts, and it becomes very difficult to navigate and control that. Well, when the limbic system becomes activated, as it does when we're trying to do recovery work, um, that part of the brain, now blood needs to start flowing to that area. Just like if you go and you work out, okay, whatever part of the body you're working out, blood flows to that part of the body to help it. It's the same thing with the brain. Well, where the way the blood flows is from the front to the back. Well, what do we do here in the prefrontal cortex? This is our executor of the brain. This is where we do our rational thinking. So if you think about it rationally, if this is the part of the brain that is now activated, this is the part of the brain, the limbic system, that's getting more of the blood. We have less blood in the prefrontal cortex. What's going to happen? Well, our cognitive abilities are going to decline. Our rational thinking is going to diminish. And the reason I bring this up is because I think it's very important that we are aware of that, because to understand that the brain right now is in a state where we don't have access to all the rational thinking we need. And what we need to be able to do, and this goes to point number two, okay, even though you can't choose what emotions are coming up, you're still responsible for them. So therefore, the idea when you find yourself feeling just completely, almost to the point where I'm going to be out of control, or I want to run away, that we have to take a moment to gather ourselves, to be able to stop, disengage, stop, go, breathe, try to relax. Okay, there's so many different methods. There's a wonderful method that, we sit here and we put our hands here and we just kind of rock back and forth slowly, and that rocking kind of brings you back to the womb in a way, or when a mom would rock a baby. And it's just such a peaceful feeling, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to deactivate as much as possible the limbic system so that the blood flows forward. And now we're dealing with the prefrontal cortex and we're doing more rational thinking. So again, you can't choose what the emotions are, but you are responsible for them. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is because I've, in the past, I've dealt with, and just recently I've been dealing with client who they have been very aggressive with each other. And I'm talking about physically aggressive. There, we understand the pain, you know, but as a man, I can't understand that pain of a woman who's been betrayed, or even another man who's been betrayed, because I haven't been in that place. But I do understand from what I see. And I know that it is devastating. But with that, still, you need to be able to maintain some control of yourself, even though you feel like you're out of control, because situations can go from bad to worse. And on this program, you've heard me share at times different scenarios. I just had a client who was recently arrested for domestic violence, because his limbic system went amok and he did not slow it down. We need to be aware that if we don't keep our emotions somewhat regulated, we can take that bad situation and we can make it worse. And let me tell you, I know right now, some of you are in a place where you're like, I don't know if this situation could get any worse. I promise you, it can. It can get much worse. And that we want to avoid. You guys are listening to this program because most of you want to reconcile, you want to come together. Um, and yeah, things have to be torn apart, things have to be torn down to get you there. I understand that. But you know what? When we're tearing things down, sometimes people can get hurt even more than the pain that you're feeling now. And we have to be very, very cautious about that. Um, the next thing I want to talk about is the idea that emotion can be, you can wall off your emotion, you can cut them down, but you can't extinguish the emotion. Okay. They're not going away. You know, you wall off an emotion, but it doesn't disappear. It just goes and it lives on the other side of the wall. And basically, what I mean by that is that you trying to either repress, which means I know it's there, but I'm not going to think about it, or suppress, which means I don't even know it exists, that those emotions are still there and they're still very, very active. And what they're going to do is they're going to come out in other ways. And many times they're going to come out in a very passive aggressive way. They may come out in an aggressive way, period. They may come out in stonewalling and just withdrawing. Um, they are going to come out. They can come out by other people engaging in destructive behaviors, more destructive behaviors than what have already been done. So we need to be able to say, all right, look, I have to be able to express my emotion, but it's about, again, expressing them in a proper way that doesn't take a situation and make it worse. I know I mean, if you think about it, you know, when we talk about the sexual addiction, and as I've told you, you know, what my belief is the inability to sit with our emotional pain. I mean, that's what got us in trouble in the first place. Can't manage this pain, so therefore I want to distract from it, and I find these destructive behaviors to do so. But the problem is here now in this circumstance, if you think about it, especially for those who have betrayed, they are now learning how to sit with emotional pain. They're sitting with the emotional pain of those people who they have betrayed. That's a very difficult situation for them. Yeah, I'm not trying to make excuses at all. I'm just telling you the reason that they got in this place in the first, the reason they got into this problem in the first place is the fact they couldn't sit with this pain. Now they're being forced to sit with this pain, and so therefore, while it is a very good learning experience, they're not always going to be good at handling it. And that's why you find those who have betrayed sometimes become defensive, you know, or they want to withdraw, or they're going to get aggressive to shut things down. And, you know, counselors need to continuously be educating those who have betrayed that that is not a proper way of handling things. They have to be able to sit with this pain, deal with it in a constructive way, and be able to still be there for those who have been betrayed. But as you've heard me say before, there's also a limit that at some point, all of us are going to become so flooded that we are no longer going to be able to sit here and rationally be able to deal with it. So therefore, we need breaks. We need that time out to be able to disengage so that we can come back and discuss it further. I try to tell people, you know what? Don't start conversations at 10 o'clock at night. Don't have 4 hour sessions. They are not going to wind up being productive. Any session that we have, any type we're trying to process, the point of all that processing is to help the person who's been betrayed to grieve their loss, and then also to help to start to build that idea of, okay, can I trust you by you being here with me and dealing with this? But there's going to be a time when the person who has betrayed just doesn't have the bandwidth to sit there any longer, and they're going to have to say, I need a timeout. But the key to that is to say, but I'll come back. I will be back. I just need to go and to regain myself, or I need sleep right now. I have to sleep, but I promise you tomorrow I will come to you and I will approach you about it. So again, with those kind of feelings, we have to make sure that we're being very open with each other about what we are feeling. And I understand on the other side, you've been betrayed. It's like, I really want to continue to do this right now. I need to continue to do this. But doing that is not going to get you what you're looking for. All you're going to wind up doing is getting this, which is going to make you even more annoyed. Go to the next point, and what we're talking about is that feelings can lead you down the right path, or they can lead you astray. And that means it depends on what you do with them. And this is where I go back and I talk a lot to my clients about this idea of your emotions. So, for example, what you feel, your emotions of what you feel may not always be accurate. Now, again, I'm not saying emotions are bad, but it may not always be accurate. And therefore, what we need to be able to do is to say, I feel this, but what's reality? And what we're going to find in most cases is these are two different things. Your emotions do not match reality. And therefore, your emotions are leading to irrational thinking. So to do that type of evaluation, if this is where, again, can't control the emotion that develops, but I can control what I do with it. Because if I want to stay here and this thing is inaccurate and it's not real and it is irrational, then again, nothing positive is going to come out of it. But however, if I take this emotion, I say, okay, what's reality? And I start looking at it through that lens. Now all of a sudden, guess what? I started decreasing the use of the limbic system, and I'm now using more of the prefrontal cortex. So now I have more rational thinking that is going on. We constantly need to be doing this evaluation, what I feel versus what is real. Because as I said, they could be very, very different things. When you discard an emotion, as we said before, okay, basically what we're doing is we're really empowering it. We are going to make it stronger than we've ever had before. So therefore, we may think that what we've done is we've made it go away, but we haven't. And what there is what I've just come up with a label. I call it muted discomfort. There's this sense within us that something's just off. It's just not right. But we may not be very aware of it. And that's why I call it muted. It's muted discomfort. It is there, but I'm not that mindful of it. But as it sits and it lingers, it's going to continue to get stronger and stronger in a very negative way. And that's why it's so important that I need to be aware of what my emotions are so that I can not allow this discomfort to get so out of control that I'm going to need to seek comfort or I'm going to need to seek a way out. The next point I wanted to bring up is there's only one way you can make an uncomfortable feeling go away, and that is to feel it. I have to feel it. If I tell my clients, I go, you have to feel to heal. The problem is most people don't want to feel. And that's both for the people who have betrayed and those who've been betrayed. Who wants to grieve? Nobody wants to grieve. Grieving sucks. Okay, it's not a good place. Nobody wants to be there, but it's needed. It's needed. If you do not do your grieving, you will not heal. You're just kicking the can down the road for that. So we need to be able to take that time to do what we have to. You have to sit and feel those emotions. And when you're sitting there and you're doing this and you're thinking about my pain, that's what we call the processing. I'm processing it. I'm trying to rationalize it. In many cases, you won't be able to rationalize it. And that's when then you got to start to say, okay, well, you know what? Maybe there is no rational answer for some of this stuff that's gone on, because sometimes people just lose their minds. Does happen, right? But what is it all about? It's that processing aspect. But your feelings are very valuable messages about your deepest self. Okay, and they are really there are learning tools. And but the problem is then when we ignore them and we try to put them aside, we don't continue to do and gather the insight that we need to learn about ourselves. And as you know, with me, I believe it's all about insight. Why? Why do I think, feel, and act the way I do? And your feelings are going to give you a good sense of that. Because many times you're going to find, oh, guess what? The feelings that I'm acting on are not accurate. The feelings that I'm acting on are running amok. And so, therefore, what I need to be able to do is, again, go back to my rational thinking. And the last point I want to make before we open it up and we start going to questions is that the way your feelings have materialized and developed is the way you were nurtured and raised as a child. Okay. If your parents taught you how to regulate emotional pain, if they were there to help you identify your emotions, if they allowed you to express those emotions and not to shame or to belittle, then you're going to have a better handle on how to manage these emotions as they come up. For those people who did not have that skill set, again, the idea was, ooh, I can't think about this pain, so I'm going to run off and distract myself. Of course, with all of this that we're talking about, especially when it comes to uh, betrayal recovery, is to understand that trauma has now entered the picture. So even if you were raised in an ideal environment to be able to learn how to identify and express your emotions in a healthy way, you may find that right now to be rather difficult because, again, trauma takes us to a different level. That being said, while we need to continue to process those emotions, we also at the same time can be doing things to help to regulate ourselves. And whether that be through meditation, whether that be through yoga, you've heard me talk about the huge benefits of that. If that be through listening to soothing music, it be going for a run, a walk, whatever it is to help you to release some of the negativity that's there and to be able to look at things not just from what I feel, but from more importantly, what is real. So that's all I got for you this week, Tammy.
Well, that's great, and that's a lot. And we've got a couple questions and things in the chat, but you were talking about emotions come out, and I always imagine the pressure cooker of, like, if we're trying to hold them, and then poof, and it comes out. And you mentioned, aggressive, passive aggressive, or just shutting down, and none of those are healthy, for anyone. And with feelings, like, it's really challenging. I think there's a little difference between an addict who just doesn't want to feel anything and a partner who feels like they've been gaslighted. So what feelings are real, because they've been told that, what you're wrong, and so I think both things are true, like learning to figure out what feelings
Mhm.
are real. But I feel like with addicts, um, I was thinking too, the 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever I'm feeling at 2 o'clock in the morning, if I wake up and I'm thinking something, it's wrong. I mean, it's just
Mhm.
like it's completely blown out of perspective. But getting validation from the right people, the people who can understand and support. Because, if I'm talking to you and Eddie going, I'm thinking this and da da da, or I've had it with my husband. Of course, I'm in a relationship, so there's things where I go, what I heard you say, or you're giving me that look. Well, he could be looking, be thinking about something completely different. It's not even about me, but
Right.
I'm internalizing. Oh, he's upset with me for something. What did I do? And my mind is going 100 miles an hour of like, what could I have possibly have done, to do that? And the reality is, it wasn't me. It's completely
Yeah,
something. It's his
absolutely.
car. I mean, who knows? So
Mm.
getting support from that. I loved what you said about taking a break, and I think well done. Those are really important, but the I can't talk to you right now is not helpful.
That's not the way to take a break.
Right,
That
right.
is
But
not the
just
way
to
to take a
say,
break.
I need to go get support for myself, and it could be sleep. It could be I need to go talk to my sponsor.
Right. I have to
I
go
need
talk to somebody.
Yes, because I need to get myself in the right place. I hear what you're saying. I'm validating that I'm hearing what you're saying, but I need to process through this
No.
in a
Because
different way.
I wanna come back to be able to help you. Can I go
Yes.
back though to that point that you just made about gaslighting and such? You're absolutely right. And that's why it's important for those who have been betrayed to be in front of a counselor so that they can try to sort out different things. You're bringing them in, saying, okay, my emotions are saying this, but I've been told before that I'm wrong and that, I'm out of my mind, but this is what it is. And this is what does reality look like? And a good counselor is going to be there and say, okay, well, give me your sense. Where do you think reality is? Because we don't want to keep feeding them, but
Right.
where are you? And then if we have to correct or say, no, you're absolutely right. You know what? Most of the time when you were being gaslighted before, you were right. Okay. So it's not that you're something wrong with the way you think and the way you have those, gut instincts. That's not the problem. The problem is the emotional stress and trauma you were put through by somebody telling you, oh, there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with someone else. Once they start to believe that, in themselves and they start to develop their confidence again, then it's easier for them to go through this process of, okay, what I feel versus what is real.
Yes. And I was also thinking, because you had muted discomfort, and that it continues to grow, and I thought that's like an infection. Like if you don't attend to the internal infection, it's just going to keep growing and spreading. And so it really is important to take care of the smallest wound, because it's going to
Hmm.
keep expanding. So and the other thing was grief. Because you mentioned the partner grief. I think both parties are grieving. I think like an addict unfortunately spends often too much time grieving the things that they can't do, rather than focusing on the outer circle stuff of all the stuff that they can do.
Hmm.
But also, like, just the ability to just numb out and not care, like there's grieving around that. I'm not saying it's necessarily okay, but it's true. And the partner, and grieving the loss of the relationship you thought you had, all of those things. And both of them getting support for that grief, is really important.
Hmm.
But I also don't think that people, especially early on, can be that person's support. Like you need
No.
to have people, good professionals
Right.
other addicts, other partners, so that you've got
Yeah.
this, support posse, so that you've got those people, because you guys are both so fragile at that point, that like it's just navigating
Yeah.
difficult things. So
I get I
having
get
good
I get
support.
so many people who come in. I get couples who come in where they've already started setting things up on their own. Like they put the accountability software on their electronic, but then the person who's getting the report is the person who's been betrayed.
Yeah, I
And
hate that.
it's like, you know what? That doesn't serve any benefit or purpose. For one, you're just being traumatized every time you go back and look at it. Even if it's a clean report, again, it's serving as that reminder of what has gone on here. It really needs to be a third party that does. And I actually do it for many of my clients. I'll say, have them send me the report and I can look at it. Plus, that
Yeah.
also keeps me up to date to see how people are doing too. But yes, you're absolutely right. You cannot serve as each other's accountability partner. Again, when we talk to the person who had betrayed and we say, help them heal, it's not about helping them heal by their accountability, is helping them heal by being transparent, okay? Making sure that you are reliable, that you learn that what their pain really looks like, the destruction that you have caused, to show great remorse and do your work so that they can say, ooh, you are trying to change, and not just from the standpoint of, oh, I got my recovery work done, but from all the other, and you guys have seen the blind spot that I've given you, all the other aspects that wind up playing into a person not being able to have and nurture a healthy relationship. That is what we talk about when we say help them heal.
I agree. I had somebody yesterday that was writing, and in one small little paragraph, I pulled out Dr. Rob's Out of the Doghouse book that's
Uh-huh.
about rebuilding trust, and I said, and I identified seven of, because there's a chapter towards the end. I think it starts on page 149. That is how to make things better, and it lists how to make things better. And I
Right.
said, Here's seven things that are exactly opposite, that in this short little paragraph, because you want to do this and you want to do regardless of your partner. And I'm like, how to make things worse, so I agree.
Yeah.
If the person that's the betrayer is really doing their work, that that eventually helps the betrayed partner heal. But it's a trust building thing, and that just takes time. So we
It
have some
does.
questions too. So
Okay.
so the first one was in the chat, is it was like, is this why sex addicts are encouraged to do meditation daily to ground
It,
ourselves?
it is part of it, for the idea about the emotions and such. But the thing about meditation is what we're trying to teach a sex addict is to be mindful, to be extremely aware of their surroundings, and more importantly, how am I doing? How am I doing mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually? How am I today? Because again, we get drained and bad things happen. The brain screaming for stimulation. And that's why then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, I can't bounce my eyes for whatever reason it may be. So that's why meditation is that way of helping them to practice being mindful. Because if they, again, we're trying to change everything up. Have you heard me say, you know, those who are betrayed, they got their head down, they're running through life, right? They're oblivious to all of it, and bang, they run right into smack into a problem. Okay. And then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, how did I do that? Why did I do that? Doesn't make sense. So therefore that's the big reason for that. And yes, it is that idea to keep ourselves grounded so that we are always one step ahead of our addiction.
Oh, he froze. I don't know if it's me or him.
What?
Somebody throw it in the chat if it's me or him. Ugh. There you are.
There you are. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. You're one step ahead.
One step ahead of the addiction.
Yes.
You want to stay
Well, and
one
I
step ahead of the addiction.
and I was thinking it isn't just sex addicts. It's, you know, it's anybody who's been struggling with addiction and compulsive behavior.
Absolutely.
And you know, my very good therapist has, you know, talked to me about, especially in this time, being intentional. And when you're doing a mindfulness exercise, you are being intentional about what you're putting into your brain. You're, you know,
Correct.
how you're physically, you know, approaching the world, rather than, like you said, you know, head down running into, you know, every obstacle in the on the planet. You know, yeah, I think that in addiction, we are like what's that, pinballs, you know, where the pinballs just kind of bounce around on everything. And so being intentional and
Right.
focusing on a grounding and yoga or any of those things that, you know, center us is a good thing.
And most of that bouncing around is driven by our emotional state. That again, muted discomfort. I can't tell you what that mood is. I can't tell you why it's bothering me. All I know is I need something else. I
Yes,
just
yes,
need something else.
yes.
And I
And
just
that'll
go.
fix me. And
Right.
that'll
And
then,
that'll
yeah,
make me feel better. Like, oh, those half a dozen donuts will make me feel much
yeah.
better. Okay.
Until you're sick.
And they may, as you're eating them, they may make you feel great until you're done.
Yes,
And now
yes.
that muted discomfort has a little bit of a voice to it, but it's just intensified.
So we have a question. How do you put your emotions on hold while you're supposed to be there for your partner that you betrayed?
Ah, yes, that's a great question. I always say to people the problem they're having is that they are trumping, they're allowing their emotion to trump their betrayed partner. It is about, again, this is about one, maturity. And that's first and foremost, it's maturity. It's to understand that, you know what, I have really caused more pain and destruction than I could ever imagine. And this can no longer right now be about me. I need to be selfless in this time, and I need to be able to put aside what I am feeling as it comes, and it will come. The shame will come, the guilt will come. Remember, I said hold on to it? I just hold on to it, but yet I stay engaged. I stay engaged. I had a client tell me the other day that, what happens is, she starts talking to me and she starts with the comments and the accusation, and I just want to, like, I want to be like a turtle, a tortoise, and just go into my shell and go, understand, I know that's what you want to do, but that's not the right thing to do. And this is what we're going to do. You're going to pick the right thing. All right. You can go later on after the discussion. You want to go take those emotions and deal with them and have that. Oh, I feel horrible, blah, blah, blah. Fine. But at this moment, I have to do the right thing. And that is to be there for them as they're going through their pain. And you may have to keep telling yourself over and over again, is that see their pain, see their pain, see their pain. Because, see, that's what happens. You don't start seeing pain. What you're seeing is hate. You're seeing
Mhm.
anger. You're seeing rejection. You're seeing belittling. You're seeing, just name it. That's what you're seeing. And you've lost sight of what's really in front of you. Pain. Stay there. It's pain. It's her or his pain. And I have to stay here with that, and then I can go deal with my emotion.
Yeah, well, and you talked about take a break. Like if it's like, okay,
Oh, if it gets too
like if you
much, yes.
can't, yeah, then you say, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to come back. I mean, just like we talked about it, you know, so it isn't that you have to be 24/7 all engaged and ready for it. So
No, absolutely. We need, there's going to be times, again, call it flooding. People become flooded, and you can say, look, you know what? I really need that break. But again, the most important thing is I will be back.
mhm.
I will be back. That is critical. And then make sure you come back.
Hmm.
Make
Hmm.
sure to do not make them chase you, because then all you're doing is you're just, again, I can't trust you. I can't trust you. What are you ultimately trying to do here? We're trying to create safety, because without safety, there can be no trust. Right? The trust aspect of this comes over time through your actions. As I say, your lips are moving, that means you're lying. Doesn't matter what you say. But it is through those actions. But what you're building now is you're trying to build a sense of safety so that trust can then take hold.
So there's a comment, which this sounds like self-care. Wow, amazing. Thanks for explaining. I know about the amygdala and limbic system, but I had an attack last week and the pain was unbearable. I just cried out for hours and I could not take it anymore. And I just held myself and yes, started rocking in bed and soothing. It took a few hours, but I thought I had a nervous breakdown. But I'm like, that sounds like processing something really painful to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly what you're doing. And you're right. Sometimes it's gonna feel like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die here. And that's not what's gonna happen. Um, that limbic system, when that amygdala breaks, that limbic system is extremely powerful. Okay. And it can feel overwhelming. We think about rage. When we get into the idea of blind rage, that is because the limbic system is about the only part in the brain at that point that's activated. And the person cannot see anything from a rational standpoint. It is just their own horror of whatever they're going through. And that's when you get into blind rage. And that's why sometimes it feels so intense. Like, is this ever going to go away? If it ever going to leave me? And the answer is yes, it will. But there are some things that you can do to limit that. For example, what activates the limbic system? One thing, sugar. Sugar is not
Oh,
good for the limbic
wow.
system. Well, think about it.
I
What is
suppose, but
sugar?
wow.
Sugar's a pleasure enhancing chemical. Okay. All right. That artificial sweeteners are not good. They're saying, stay away from diet sodas, stay away from that. Use honey, use things like that. There's different things that you can do to help to calm that down on a regular basis. Because again, what we're going to get out of it overall is more productive conversations that can help us lead ultimately, hopefully, to reconnection.
There's the next question. My SA avoids my feelings about his addiction. When I want to talk to him about my issues with my own recovery from betrayal, I feel it's really hard to be able to bring it up to him. He's not emotionally available. Any suggestions?
All right, so I can't see the question. So again,
Oh,
this
you
is
can't. Okay.
no for
So,
some
all
reason,
right.
but
So,
go ahead.
all right. So my essay avoids my feelings about his addiction. When I
About his
want to talk
addiction. Okay,
about
so
his addiction, when I want to talk to him about my issues with my own recovery from betrayal, I feel it's really hard to be able to bring it up to him. He's not emotionally available. Any suggestions? And they don't say how early in the process they are. But my
okay.
first thought is get support from other
Yes,
people.
absolutely, absolutely. Because my guess is he doesn't know how to handle this.
Yeah.
He's clueless. I don't know what to
Yeah.
do, and he's probably very fearful. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to do something that's going to get her even more upset. And again, these are not excuses. He should not.
No.
That's not what should be happening. He just needs some guidance and education about how to handle your pain. There's a really good. It's a small book. It's a really great book. Um, which I can't remember the title, but
You will.
yeah, I will. I will at some point. I'll remember it. But anyway, that really helps guys need to understand the depth of the pain, but then also too what they can do to help. So I think in that circumstance for him, it's more about education. Yeah, of course he doesn't know how to emotionally connect. I told you, 9 out of 10 of these folks don't know how to emotionally gauge, whether it's female or male. If you're dealing with this type of addiction, you do not know how to emotionally engage. Because again, if you have that strong emotional connection to begin with, you're not sitting in this position. Okay, we're being vulnerable, we're being open. I can sit with my pain. I can do all of that. I don't have to run away from things. So that's part of it. But yes, it's really about education.
So a couple of practical things. I would highly encourage you to join the Betrayed Partner group that is at 12:30 today on Pacific time on sexandrelationshiphealing.com. That's a group that's moderated. It's just for partners. We started a new group tomorrow morning, so Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, again, just for betrayed partners. And they're there to support each other. Again, a moderator, a trained person is there to support the process as well. And I don't know what he's doing, but there's again, free group for men tomorrow morning and Friday morning, and that's a great place for them to process. One more thing, the sex porn addiction 101 work group, we have a new one starting December 2nd, and the guys get they're learning a lot of stuff and having aha moments, so that's another opportunity. But the book Out of the Doghouse that I mentioned earlier, that is how to rebuild trust. It is, like I pointed out a little bit ago, here's some things to make it better, here's some things to make it worse, so there's some really practical tools in there as well. So next
Okay.
question, can you please explain about not emotions, but tension in my body? I have so much tension in the back and face muscles. I do a lot of breathing and meditation. Is this directed by the limbic system?
Yeah, well, again, we've come to understand. Oh, and by the way, put the name of that book in the chat for people. It's called How to Help Your Spouse Heal from Your Affair. Um, the There's been a lot of work that's been done in the last 20 years to demonstrate how stress impacts us physically. So therefore, like you said, all of this, anxiety, this pain, this tension that you have is, yes, it's all driven first and foremost by the limbic system. But what's also happening is your body's also producing a higher level of cortisol, which of course is that, you know, it is um, the negative compound. Help me. Cortisol. It's a hormone that is used that winds up causing us for stress. So if stress is
Mhm.
in the body, the hormone is produced, cortisol, and what that does, it creates inflammation in the body. And of course, we know inflammation is deadly to us. So that's why, yes, doing things such as meditating, doing things such as yoga, doing things such as proper self-care, being able to be in good relationship with friends, having those kind of things, they're all healthy for us. Um, and then you don't have like brain, lapses like I just had, where it is. But anyway, it is a neurochemical, and it is produces high levels of inflammation in the body, and we need to be able to try to lower those and keep them down.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many betrayed partners I've talked to, the chronic post-traumatic stress, and they have autoimmune issues. I mean, they have
Mm.
a lot of medical conditions, and there aren't enough studies yet on this specific stuff. There
Right,
should be,
right.
but
They're getting
I
there.
really believe, yeah, I believe that they
Yeah,
will be finding that. But
right.
yes, and
I
there's
just put another book in there, The Body Keeps Score.
Keep Score, yeah, by Bessel
Wonderful.
van der Kolk. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah. So
wonderful book.
yeah, yeah. So, and I think it's one of those where, doing some specific things, whether it's, rolling or, a massage or rolfing or whatever it is that you can do specifically on the muscles that are, and then being intentional about, with your meditations, you can focus on, expanding your chest and your body. I mean, like there's so many free apps, to calm you down.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
you be very intentional and specific. So
Right.
next question. My husband is from the generation where men were expected to repress their emotions. He
Mm,
experienced a great deal
recommend.
of trauma from ED and a great deal of racial issues, as well as trauma in childhood. And as a teen, this repression has led to cyber sex addiction, affairs, and porn. He is going through the emotions in therapy, but does not really believe in the process. Can I do something to help him?
Yeah, it's the B word, boundaries. I mean, again, there's nothing you're going to do that's going to be able to motivate him to take action. He needs to be able to come up with that on his own. But what you could do is have boundaries. If he's not going to be doing the work he really needs, you have to make the determination what those boundaries are. But they have to have some type of consequences in it. Because I would assume, based on what you're saying, that even though he's half-hearted in doing work, my guess is you believe he may still be acting out in some ways. So therefore, it becomes the idea, okay, how do I protect myself from this? And the way to do that is I go, you have to put things down to say, these are my limitations and I will not take any more of this. And that's why finding a good counselor who you could sit with to help you to come up with those boundaries would be really helpful.
Uh, do you have any advice on having mixed feelings about the unfaithful, something I can cry for him and sometimes I hate him? Oh, Dr. Rob talks about this all the time, the ambivalent love. Yeah, I love him, I hate him, I love him, I hate him.
Oh
I
yeah,
would invite you to absolutely go listen to Dr. Rob's webinars, because like this comes up regularly on that.
yeah, yeah. You're
Um,
talking about attachments,
yeah.
right?
So yeah, you're gonna grieving is a process that doesn't just get, you don't
It
just get
is,
over that. So
right?
even if somebody's left, so
It is.
okay.
It's a process.
The next question, can you talk more about about what processing looks like? How do you know when it has been completely processed? It seems the
Oh,
same emotions keep coming up and I'm not able to talk about them with my husband, so I'm trying to process them myself. Oh, please get
yeah.
support. Don't
Well,
do it
see,
yourself.
right.
Is it
That's
possible to process emotions on your own and be healed when my husband is not able to deal
you.
with my pain?
Okay. There. Can you process emotions on your own? Yes, you can. How effective will your processing be, and how much will it lead you to a full recovery? I would say probably not well. Um, so yes, in the moment I have to process this stuff, and processing basically is one identifying what is the true emotion you're feeling. So right now I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling rage. What? No, no, no. What are you really feeling? Okay, I'm feeling cheated. I'm feeling, you know, disappointed. I'm feeling
Hurt.
hurt. Okay, all that you come up with those feelings and sit with them for a while to understand. Yes, okay, this is what had happened to me. All right, but then you're going to start to go and move. But you know what? One day, if I work at this, I can make these feelings dissipate. They can lose their intensity. All right, not today, but one day they can. Therefore, giving yourself a sense of hope that it's not always going to be there, but you really do need that person that you can sit across from to be able to go through in a deeper way. I mean, what do you think, Tammy?
Well, one of the things I thought of was, and we've talked about this before too, but scheduling time and just saying, we've got 20 minutes, so it's a finite amount of time, and we're going to schedule this a couple times a week so that we can process things. And it's, so it isn't like this can come out at any given time. It's like, I'm going to hold this, but when I have this, I'm going to have a safe space to be able to talk about this. And it can even be, I don't need you to fix this. I just need you to hear this, and and share, and he can come back and say, I'm not ready to deal with this yet. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the skills. you know it's very challenging. Just because somebody stops the acting out behavior doesn't mean that they've all of a sudden learned to be, have empathy and to be, an enlightened human being. It's a long haul. And and it's a path, and,
Yes.
you see them make some progress, and then you see them backslide, and then you see them make some progress. But hopefully, if you can both create safe space. And I would really encourage, this sounds like a spot where having a qualified professional that knows about addiction and betrayal and to help you navigate and get a path could be good. But John Taylor's Rock and Relationships has really practical, and he's got previously recorded webinars too, on sexandrelationshiphealing.com. But he's very practical about, do these 4 things. Might be really useful.
Yeah. Keep checking out all those videos, folks. You'll get a lot of good insight and information.
Next question, similar to other questions. I am an addict, and when my partner begins asking tons of questions, getting angry, I can hang in for a while and stay focused on her pain. But sometimes she does not respect what I say, that I need a break, or hear me when I'm trying to be empathetic. The last time this happened, the fight went for almost 24 hours before I eventually said, how long is this going to go on? And that makes her feel like I'm rushing her through the process. Any advice on how to handle this more productively?
Yeah, well, one thing, you don't ask that question anymore. I mean, it's those kind of questions that, again, you're right. We never want to give the impression. Well, actually, it's not even the impression. We never want to rush someone along in the process. If they feel like you are trying to drag them through it, I'm telling you, they are going to drag you back the other way and even deeper. You cannot do that. You need to be able to say, look, I understand your pain. I understand you're hurting. I know we need to continue to talk about this. I want to talk about this. I want to be here. But at this moment, I have nothing left to give. And I just need to go and regenerate, replenish myself so that I can come back and talk again to you. And again, if you have a counselor, and if she doesn't have one, bring her into your counselor. Hopefully, maybe her counselor can talk a little bit about, hey, how can we make this work for both of you? Because again, without that, you're just going to wind up here, and that you've been there. That's what you're talking about. But again, stay away from any type of language that gives the impression that, we just got to get through this. Are we going to talk about that again? Didn't we talk about this already? Yeah, you did. And you're going to talk about it again and again and again. Remember, the more they talk about it, the more they heal. It is healing. I know it doesn't, I told you folks, I know it doesn't look like healing, but it is healing for them to go through that.
And I would invite you, when you're not in this moment, so like hopefully now, when it's not in this, to say, I don't want to do that again. I want to be able to create a safe space for us to process through this. I want to be able to be there for you. So let's set some mutually agreed upon boundaries of this. And again, what I just said about setting, twice a week or 3 times a week, 20 minutes, but it's 20 minutes. And we can bring this back up in our next session, but it's this finite amount of time. And then, then it can come, and then you've got some space where it isn't just going, forever. Because, if it was happening, if somebody was at me for 24 hours, I think I would do the same. I think it wouldn't go well for me. I wouldn't have the bandwidth to be able to do that.
No, we would all do that.
Yeah. But so creating when it's not in the moment, you get the plans when you're not in the heat of the battle. It's, like, okay, I'm not triggered right now. I'm not whatever. So let's talk about what can we do to make sure that we're able to process through this in a, mutually respectful way.
Right.
So there's another question, our last one for today.
Okay.
Also, reconnecting with other people. My partner does The betray partner group's great. Our partners encouraged to connect with each other the way addicts in our meetings. I can answer that. They are free to share their information if they want to do so in a confidential way. Like if I wanted to, give Eddie my phone number, I could do that, in a meeting. They are not permitted to, we've really clamped down on, we want to make sure that people aren't taking information and generating lists or things like that. So they are absolutely, if somebody goes, gosh, yeah, I want to support you, I want you to support me, they are encouraged to connect. There are several of the people I know are meeting outside of our group. They're meeting on off times because they connected and they want to be there and support each other, from that standpoint too. So yes, there is support. So we're out of time. So I will look forward to seeing you next month, Eddie.
I will be
And
there.
all of you come back next week. Troy Love will be joining us, and it is Super Saturday Recovery Summit this Saturday on intherooms.com. Eddie's been a guest before. I will be hostessing again this Saturday, so I would invite you to join the free presentations there as well. Email me at Tammy, Tami at seekingintegrity.com if you have any questions or I can be of help. So I will look forward to I've pointed a number of therapists towards your training because I do think it's important work. So I will look forward to having more resources for people, in 2021. So
Yeah, me too. Me too.
all right. Thanks,
Good seeing you.
everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.